Hello friends and beautiful people. Now for the original video we were going to do today before we got all excited about the fudge and finishing the gourds. So I need to start planting seeds for our garden. I did wait a little longer than normal because we're predicted to have snow into April. So I'm guessing that it's going to be a late year to put our seeds out, but we'll wait and see. And so we're just going to get everything started in our basement that we hooked up for seed starting. We've got some lights hanging from the rafters. Hubs ran me some electric down here because, you know, we don't have a lot of electric in our home. We're still in an Amish farm. And for the heat mats. So we're going to start today with brassicas. Brassicas are your broccoli, your cauliflower, your Brussels sprouts, and your cabbage. We're going to start with those. And we're going to do some peas, which I've got my peas. I'm going to do some peas. You don't have to necessarily stay along for that. I've got them soaking in water, and that's just to get the faster germination out of them. And then we're going to do our loofahs, and if we have time, we're going to do our peppers. Now, our brassicas, the broccoli, cabbage, cauliflower, and Brussels sprouts, don't need a heat mat or a light when we're first getting started. The basement is an ambient temperature. They really like to germinate in not a cooler temperature, but not a hot temperature. So with us running the coal stove down here, it'll be perfect. And the loofahs and the peppers obviously have to have both the heat mat and the lamps. So I want to show you. This is a little bag of broccoli that I harvested before. So when your broccoli bolts, broccoli, cauliflower, and I've not been wise enough to do this with cabbage, I don't know how it's done. When it bolts and it sends those flowers, just let it go. I mean, at this point, you're not going to get any more broccoli off of it, but what you are going to get are seed pods, and the seed pods look similar to the ones that you get from radishes. So this is what a seed pod looks like when it's dry, and this is actually both sides of it. I don't know if you can see the split in there or not, but I put them in a Ziploc bag like this, and because I don't necessarily, here, this one has the ridges that you can see, so you get quite a few little seeds. Can you see the ridge spots? Yeah, you kind of can. You get quite a few seeds from one little seed pod. So then what I do is I just shake up this little bag of dried pods, and I'll pull the chaff off, and then what I have left are my own little broccoli seeds. And I'll show you how small a broccoli seed is, because they're pretty small. And they, you know, it's very, like I said, very similar to the cauliflower. See, I usually leave my nails long for this because I use my fingernails to do everything. But there is, can you see on the tip of my finger, the little brown spot that looks like a tick? That is my broccoli seed. Now, the general rule for seeds is you put a seed down twice as far as it is big. So with these, I just punch them down about 1/8 to 1/4 of an inch. And a lot of times I'll start 2 in one little pot, because what I do is I separate them out later. Usually I'm not an up planter. I don't have time for that. I've got the quilt shop. My only day off is Monday. We don't work on Sundays, so that's it for me unless I do it in the evenings, and by the time I do dinner, dishes, you know, all that stuff, I just don't have time. So here we go. So what I'm using is, I usually use the Pro Mix. I think it's the BX, which is your seed starting. Now, I know that that's a product of Canada, and it's very difficult to get in the US right now. A lot of people said that they've tried to get it at some of the hardware stores, like your Lowe's, your Home Depot, your Menards. They've tried Tractor Supply, Rural King, and they're just not getting it or able to get it. I don't know which the case is. So what I do is, and I'm not an affiliate of any kind, I go to Greenhouse Megastore to get most of my products that I use in my high tunnel, just because I get a better price. So, and because I do buy it in bulk. I start a lot of seeds, and we hope to be selling some seed starts or some, you know, some plants or whatever. And I I like buying it in bulk. I don't like running out of anything. And I usually start, you know, at least 100 trays of things during the year. I know that sounds excessive, but if you think about all of the vegetables and the flowers and the things like that we're starting, then it makes sense. So what I do is I put the mix in my little pots. I have a little stainless steel scoop and I use it and I fill them all up. At the old farm, I had a potting bench, and in that potting bench, I had a little tub, and I would actually use that and get my soil really wet before not really wet, but wet before I started. You don't want to be able to squeeze the soil in your hand and have water come out, but it was enough that I could put it in here and not necessarily pack it down, but I didn't want any water holes in it. So you just tap. I'm not going to do it because I don't want you to hear the loud thump. Tap it down a couple times. Make sure that, you know, you don't have any that get low in the middle or whatever. And then most places recommend that you water from the bottom. So what I've done is I use, can you see the tray? It's a bakery tray. So it's called a full pan bakery tray. And I had bought my bakery rack that I used to cure my soap on from a very filthy Mexican restaurant in Columbus. So I scrubbed up the pans, and the ones that I didn't want to use for soap, I use for my high tunnel. All right, so there we are. We've got all of our soil in here, and we're just going to pick us out some more broccoli seeds and get them in there. The other thing I'm going to plant is, and I'm going to recommend these. I'll hide who I got them from. But this is called late Dutch cabbage, and it was amazing for us last year. We got nice big heads. We did have them in the tents, so I really can't complain about pest damage, but they were awesome. But I'm also going to try one called Brunswick that I got from Heirloom Seeds. And whatever I don't save and I buy, I try to buy heirloom, not hybrids. You know the whole spiel for me. I don't do chemicals. And that's it. So we're going to do those. Our seeds for our peas, I'm just going to take the tip of my finger and push them down into the middle twice as far as it is deep, and we're going to get that started. Now I'm also going to start some perennials here this week, hopefully, and the ones that I'm going to start are ones that I am going to use for medicinal purposes. All right, so let's come back up here and talk about that. Oh, hang on here. Let me pause you so that you're not a hot mess. All right, so as most of you are aware, I have been diagnosed with autoimmune Hashimoto's. Basically, my body is attacking my thyroid. Your number for your thyroid immunity should be on a scale from 0 to 9. And mine was 2,800. So I had to go on thyroid medication, which is the kiss of death for me, because it's like anything else. They tell you that once you start on it, you can never get off of thyroid medication. And I was inspired by Heidi at Rain Country and watched her video on how they got off of thyroid medication. So I have been doing a lot of studying. This isn't just from watching a YouTube video. This is from taking a lot of information from a lot of different places, combining it together to figure out the best protocol for me. So I will tell you that the thyroid medication, I have done nothing different with my diet or my exercise, and I've already lost 30 pounds that I had gained. I'll just, transparency is everything, right? While we were moving and going up and down all the stairs of this home, which this house has 3 floors plus a basement, and we were going up and down the stairs of the other home, unloading things, setting up the quilt shop, getting all of our, because we had to do most of it. The only thing the movers would move was basically our clothes and our furniture. They wouldn't move a blacksmith shop. They wouldn't move the quilt shop. They wouldn't move the farm animals. All those things. So we were doing a lot of it, and kudos to my hubs, because there were times, because I was working, that he had to do a lot of that himself. So for me, and our diet was good. We don't eat a lot of processed foods. We don't eat out a lot. Now, we did go into the place in town a lot for, not a lot, at least once a week, for salads. Okay, it's not like we were going in there and getting deep fried craziness or all the things that you crave when you don't really eat them. But my point is, there was no reason for me to gain that 20 pounds. And then the month of October hit. I gained another 20 pounds in 1 month. And I'm not a doctor person. Everyone knows that about me, but I was also having some other symptoms. I was getting winded just from walking across the house. It was 90 degrees outside, and I was sitting on the couch in a blanket in an unair conditioned home. So and my hair was thinning and falling out like you would not believe. There were a lot of indicators that came up, and this lady took the deep dive and figured out that I had the Hashimoto's. So in studying that, I've studied to see all the things that I need to make sure that I'm increasing in my diet. The first of all is the D3. And the D3, I have to take as a supplement in the winter, but a lot of times, I'm out in the sun for a lot of the day, gardening and doing all the things. So that didn't make sense to me at that point in time because it was still summer when I was going through that. But that's the cause of a lot of ladies who have thinning hair, FYI. So I also need to increase the amount of magnesium I'm taking in, and then there's herbs that I can add. You see where I'm going with this. I did the deep dive. I did a lot of research, and so the perennials that I plant, like the ashwagandha or the feverfew, they all have a reason and a purpose here on our farm. I'm not just planting because someone says, oh, belladonna is a good, herbal medicine. You've got to really study. Belladonna can be dangerous. And so you have to study and make sure that you are doing what intellectually is the right thing to do, what spiritually is the right thing to do, and what herbally is the right thing to do. And you have to look at interactions. I found out I can't take colloidal silver because of my thyroid condition. So as I'm looking, point being, long story short, I guess, the point being, as I'm looking at the herbs that I'm starting, I'm making sure that I will use these things for us, or that it is something that is beneficial to our farm in some way. I'm not going to plant belladonna and risk someone accidentally ingesting it and dying because I didn't do my research. So that's all my ask is. So as you are going through your seeds and you're going through everything that you're planting, I know some things look fun and attractive and trendy. Like I remember the one year that everybody planted the noodle beans. We planted them. They came out beautifully. They were gorgeous. The flowers were gorgeous. They tasted like, So anyway, you just have to make sure that, especially if you have limited garden space, that you're making a plan and keeping with your plan. So I'm going to start these seeds. Hopefully you're starting yours. And until next time, friends, be blessed and be a blessing.